All right, guys, welcome back to the Hold My Helmet Football Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Will Reichling. Week 3 of the NFL season in the books, going into Week 4. A lot of big games, not as much as the week before, but biggest one out of them all, Ravens-Lions, going to hit on that one. Rams-Eagles, big comeback from the Eagles. We got Cowboys-Bears we're going to talk about. Broncos-Chargers, Chiefs-Giants. Giants going to go with Jackson Dart, we'll hit on that. Carson Wentz and the Vikings winning. J.J. McCarthy struggling when he was in there. We'll go over that. And then Week 5 picks, we got Cardinals at Seahawks, Vikings at Steelers in Ireland, Eagles, Bucks, Colts, Rams, Ravens, Chiefs, and Packers, Cowboys, Sunday Night Football. So like, subscribe, share, and let's get into it right now. Let's do it. I want to start with, of course, Monday Night Football, Ravens, Lions. What a game. I mean, what a game between two powerhouses, a powerhouse in the AFC, a powerhouse in the NFC. Both teams attempting for years now to win a Super Bowl, get to a Super Bowl, and both coming close, both going to a conference championship game and losing, both having great regular seasons and then getting knocked out, shocked in the playoffs. Ravens have a couple times. Lions last year against the Commanders. So both teams eyeing Super Bowls this season. Both teams eyeing conference championships this season. And for the Detroit Lions, I was very critical on them losing Ben Johnson. I was very critical on them losing Aaron Glenn. But these two coordinators, man, John Morton, he really did a fantastic job today. He seemed like he always chose the right play in critical moments. Every single time the Lions needed a score, he chose the perfect play. And they got creative as well. He honestly looked a little Ben Johnson-esque, and the read option from St. Brown to Jahmyr Gibbs on 4th and goal was probably the best play call of the year, given the circumstances. Goal line, 4th and goal, you gotta get a touchdown here. Absolutely have to get a touchdown, and no one saw that coming at all. What a call from John Morton. And if we look back, let's not forget that John Morton was the Jets OC in 2017, and he actually did a pretty decent job. Josh McCown, journeyman quarterback, had a career year, 18 touchdowns in 13 games. They were about 4-5, then 5-7. Then Josh McCown gets hurt. Bryce Petty comes in. They become a disaster. I was actually surprised that he got fired after the season and he didn't get another opportunity because with the little talent on that 2017 Jets offense, he actually was pretty impressive. So he's 55, not too old for a coordinator or a coach in the league, but also not young either. So most teams usually go with that young offensive coordinator type head coach like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Kevin O'Connell. So it's possible that you may never lose this guy. Almost like a Steve Spagnuolo situation on the Chiefs as far as offensive coordinators as a defensive coordinator. So this might be a guy that's locked in for years and years and years. Who knows? He still might get a head coaching job if he really excels in this role. But I mean, he's older to the point where it's like, teams might already be out on him on this point, so you might be locked in with this guy, and it looks like he's off to a great start, so that's great if you're a Lions fan. Really, really excellent job here by John Morton, and really was rolling in this game, got rhythm, and that is a great offensive performance for that coordinator. As far as Calvin Shepard on the defensive side, a little bit of a different story. 37 years old, younger coach, former player. He might get an opportunity one day. And he also had a great job on that defensive side, man. I mean, the pressure they got on Lamar Jackson was excellent in this game. After Derrick Henry, the first drive, they really stifled him, forced a fumble, really stuffed him the rest of the game. So great job by Calvin Shepard. Great job by John Morton. And the Detroit Lions, now a couple weeks ago, looking like, oh, they're really going to regress after losing both coordinators. And I was saying that too. I am guilty of that. Now looking like, is this the best team in the NFC? I mean, they're really up there. I would love to see them play the Eagles. I don't think they play the Eagles in the regular season, but I would love to see that matchup because I think if the offense is going to play like that, if the defense is going to play like that, that team is pretty complete as long as they stay healthy. Because now you get Hutchinson back. You saw him get a sack. I've been bringing up, they got Terrion Arnold on one side, cornerback, and they got DJ Reed on the other side. Two really, really top-end cornerbacks. And then they have, at safety, Brian Brandt. So they actually have a really good-looking defense as far as big-time players. So a defense that last year was decimated, and Aaron Glenn had to make the most out of it. Now you have a defense with a lot of talent on it to go along with probably the best offense in the league. So the Lions, a couple weeks ago, you were looking down. Now you're looking up again. As far as the Baltimore Ravens, we say this every week, they beat themselves. I mean, the Lions did outclass them here, but again, Derrick Henry with the fumble, they couldn't get it in. They were 1st and goal at the 3-yard line, and they run it with Derrick Henry 3 times and Lamar Jackson 1 time, and they couldn't get it in. When you had those two guys, you need to be able to get in the end zone at the 3-yard line. The biggest concern, yes, you have these leads, you're in these games, you keep blowing it. But I think the bigger concern is that defense. That defense, man. Because, I think you only allowed 10 points to the Browns, but you got worked by the Bills' offense, and then you get worked by the Lions' offense. Who says you're not going to get worked in the playoffs? You play these top offenses in the league. So if you're a Ravens fan, you got to be extremely concerned. Now, last season, they started off slow, the defense, then they got it going. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen again because they're kind of getting torched. Their secondary looks old. Their secondary looks weak. Jair Alexander already out. He looked washed. Marlon Humphrey's getting up there in age. So, you got to be worried about the defense if you're a Ravens fan. I still think that offense, Derrick Henry's going to get it right, okay? Sometimes when you fumble the ball a lot, it gets in your head. It kind of becomes a mental thing where you're kind of compensating for it, and then you end up fumbling more, almost like getting the yips in a way. I think he's going to fix that. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's going to get it going again. I'm just more worried about the defense than the offense. But the Ravens, 2 years ago, you crushed this team. You crushed the Lions. You got a lot of pressure on Jared Goff, and he was stifled. They kind of worked you, the Lions offense. So it's... You better hope you're not trending down right now because the Bills beat you. Bills already got the tiebreaker on you. The Chiefs are finally starting to get things a little right. The AFC is wide open. So other than the Bills, you got to cruise your way to the AFC Championship game here. But if your defense is going to play like that, you're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. So the Ravens really got to clean that up ASAP. So let's get into the Rams and the Eagles. Rams got out to a 26-7 lead. The Eagles' offense looked completely stifled. Looked like they have the first couple of games because they've been winning ugly. Before this game, the Eagles were winning ugly. They were kind of pounding the rock, but not to the point where Barkley was breaking off 50-yard runs, kind of just doing exactly what they needed to do, little by little, a little bit here, a little bit there. Jalen Hurts take off for a run, tush push, Barkley 5-yard gain here. Jalen Hurts throwing a 3-yard pass to Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts dropping back, running again, tush push, touchdown. Little by little, they weren't wowing anyone. And a couple of years ago, A.J. Brown first came over from the Titans, and Jalen Hurts was lighting it up with him. In the Super Bowl last year, Jalen Hurts was lighting it up. The Super Bowl a couple of years ago, we know it was possible for this offense to light it up in the passing game. We've seen it before. Everyone was acting like A.J. Brown was washed. We all knew A.J. Brown had that in him. We all knew Devontae Smith had that in him, okay? So, to be down 26-7 and to have the Rams know that you have to pass the ball. Everyone in the stadium knows that you have to pass the ball, goddammit, to get back into this game. And for Jalen Hurts to do that over and over again and be successful the way he was in that game, that might have been the most impressive win of Jalen Hurts' career. When everyone in the building knows you have to throw the ball, you're down multiple scores, 3 scores, you got to come back and win this game. And you come all the way back, boom, 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 right down the field, and you win the game. And yes, he's got tons of talent on the outside. Devontae Smith, Goddard, A.J. Brown. People just say, oh, you have a stacked offense, just get them the ball. He got them the ball, but he placed it in perfect spots. The touchdown throw to A.J. Brown, perfect spot. All those curl routes to A.J. Brown, where A.J. Brown was kind of muscling off the defenders, he was putting those in the perfect spot. Perfect time balls, throwing that touchdown over the middle of the Goddard. He was just seeing the field really well. Really good rhythm from Jalen Hurts. He kind of felt really comfortable in that game. And he showed that he's capable of throwing the ball from the pocket. I know we all know that he can make big plays from the pocket and be explosive, but I think people thought that he was starting to get a little too cautious, and they were starting to play a little too safe, and maybe this was their offense now. No, it's not. They still have that capability in them to win shootouts. They kind of can win any single way possible. They can win in shootouts. They can win ugly games. They can win defensive games. They can win offensive games. They can win running the ball. They can win throwing the ball. They can win with special teams. They can win with exactly like the blocked field goal, 2 blocked field goals. So they can win multiple ways, and they show that in this game. This is a very impressive win for the Eagles, and this is a very impressive win for Jalen Hurts, and you got to be happy if you're A.J. Brown. You showed that, hey, I still got it, so you got to give me the ball, and I think moving forward, they're going to do that now. And for the Rams, they looked really good early in this game. Devontae Adams has been a huge addition to this team. Puka Nacua still looking like Puka Nacua. Kyron still looking like Kyron Williams. Blake Corum's starting to get involved now too. But something felt a little off in the second half with this offense that kind of teetered off a little bit. Stafford, I think, winced once when he got hit with his back. The Rams have games like this where they just look a little off offensively. Week 1 felt like this too when they played the Texans, and they only scored, 14 points, 17 points? So they have all the talent in the world in the offense, but sometimes they look like this where they kind of get into a little bit of a funk. I wanted to say that they were a 14-3 team, 13-4 team, could be the 1 seed, but 10, 11 wins feels more realistic at this point. Cowboys and Bears. The Chicago Bears. What a great game for the Chicago Bears. What a great job by Caleb Williams. What an excellent job by Caleb Williams. Yes, you're playing the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, they look like they might have one of the worst defenses in the league. They probably have the worst defense in the league. But you played from the pocket. You made time throws from the pocket. Yes, guys are running wide open down the field, but you saw them. You hit them. It's not your fault that Dallas can't cover. It's not your fault that Dallas has no idea what they're doing defensively. You played a great game, Caleb Williams. You showed the Bears organization, the Bears fans, everything they wanted to see. That you can make explosive plays, you can make time plays, you can play within an offense, you can manage a game, you can not turn the ball over, that he didn't get sacked. All the things that you've seen wrong from Caleb in the past season and 2 games, you saw right in this game. You saw him play well in this game. And that might have been his best game as a pro. And what a great job by Ben Johnson. He schemed up a perfect game. That flea flicker, you saw the creativity, you saw the vibes, you saw Caleb flowing with this offense. You finally got some chemistry here with your Ben Johnson. There's nothing else to really say other than that was a greatly called game by Ben Johnson, and that's why you hired him as your head coach, to unlock that from Caleb Williams, to unlock that from Rome Odunze, to unlock that from this offense. And now you're kind of looking up and feeling a lot better if you're a Bears fan, so you got to feel happy if you're a Bears fan. As far as Dallas, you can't cover anything. It's possible that Eberflus might get fired before the season's over. I mean, that's all I can say. Trayvon Diggs looks completely washed. And him and Deron Bland were kind of very feast or famine cornerbacks to begin with. They were basically boom or bust. Interception, pick 6 to the house, or a 50-yard touchdown they let up. And you're starting to see that now. You're starting to see more of the bust than boom with Trayvon Diggs. Less turnovers, more letting up touchdowns. And Dallas, like I said, before the season started, when they traded Micah Parsons, is going to come down to Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens. So you lost CeeDee Lamb in this game. Pickens has been playing pretty well so far this season, but it's going to come down to shootouts. And Javonte Williams has been a nice surprise. Ferguson's starting to come along. The offense is fine. They struggled in this game, but they were just down so big so fast that it was hard to come back. So Dallas, obviously, you're not a playoff team just on the defense alone. Offense is going to have to keep you in shootouts. Broncos-Chargers was a very gritty game. Both defenses showed out for most of this game, and I think the Chargers have a chance to argue with, hey, are we the best team in the AFC? We have the best head coach, we think, in the AFC other than Andy Reid. If you're a Chargers fan, and there's not many of them out there, Justin Herbert having a career year, Quentin Johnson, people pretty much gave up on him, said he can't catch. He looks like he's a player. Keenan Allen coming back is way more underrated than people realized. That was Justin Herbert's safety blanket. That was Justin Herbert's number 1 target over the years. And yes, that's taken away from Lamb McConkey, but that is a guy that has produced over the years, over the last decade or whatever. And there's something to be said about a guy who's played his whole career in one spot, coming back to that team, and the vibes, the chemistry, the momentum of doing that. Because now he feels like he's back at home. The fans feel like he's back at home, and he feels like he is going to make big plays for a team he has for years. His quarterback, his guy, it just feels right. You know what I mean? It just feels right. And that defense, man, I mean, is that the best defense in the league? I think it's possible. And maybe it's less of their defense and more of the Broncos offensively. And Bo Nix, maybe he's peaked. Maybe that was his ceiling at the end of last year with throwing 29 touchdowns. And because he's just so up and down. You see very, very positive plays from Bo Nix, and you see so many plays where you're like, what was that? What were you thinking there? So I was very high on Bo Nix coming into the season. He's faster than people think. He actually has a pretty big arm, way bigger arm than people think. But he just makes a lot of boneheaded decisions, and I think I got a little too hyped on him too fast. Jaden Daniels, that's going to click. Quarterbacks of that nature are going to click. But Bo Nix, I don't know. He has a great half, bad half, good game, terrible game. It's been too up and down this season, and I guess it is his second season. Usually after your rookie season, defenses have a full year of film on you, so I guess it is expected for him to kind of regress here in year 2. Let me look up Bo Nix stats here, because last year I'm pretty sure he threw 29 touchdowns. So, yeah, he went from 29 touchdowns, 12 picks, 93 passer rating last season. So far this year through 3 games, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, 83 passer rating. So, 3 games, 3 interceptions already. 2, I'm pretty sure 2 of them were awful picks, god awful. So, usually a year 2 setback is expected. You're seeing that with Jaden Daniels. Now he had to miss some time. Not necessarily a setback, but they're looking like the whole team's a little bit taking a step backwards. So I wouldn't freak out if I'm a Broncos fan, but maybe I think I overrated the team a little bit too much. The defense is great, but the offense, with Bo Nix, still some growing pains there. Great win for the Kansas City Chiefs. that guy Thornton, man, the last 2 games has really popped. He's kind of taken over the role of Xavier Worthy. You've seen Juju make plays, Kelsey made some plays, and Mahomes, just what he's done with the talent around him so far this season, the grit he's shown, it's been very impressive. And the Chiefs, much need to win. There's not really much more to hit on with that. It's just, I said they were still going to make the playoffs this season. I don't think they're going to necessarily make the AFC Championship game again, but they're going to be a playoff team. That's a fact. Rashid Rice is going to come back. Xavier Worthy will come back. Like, this team will be just fine. And they show that in that game. They basically controlled the entire game. Giants are just bad. Giants are bad, and they're going to start Jackson Dart. They announced it. They're going to start Jackson Dart. Russell Wilson had a great game against Dallas. There's no denying that. So it's hard to kind of bench him after that. But we all know that was the outlier, because look at every team when they play Dallas. Caleb Williams looked good, for Christ's sake. Not saying Caleb Williams didn't turn a corner, turn a leaf, because I think he did. But it was kind of an outlier more than the rule, because you saw against Washington Commanders, which is an defense, not great, not terrible, where they put up 6 points. Then you saw against the Kansas City Chiefs, who actually has been underperforming so far this season, the Kansas City Chiefs defense. They played well against the Eagles, but who would they play again week 1? The Chargers, and they kind of got torched in that game. So against the Chiefs defense, sucked. Against the Commanders defense, sucked. Not like they're playing top defense in the league. The Chiefs might end up having one of the top defenses in the league, but McDuffie looks kind of off. I mean, this defense has been kind of off, so Russell Wilson we just know what he is. He can't really move. He's kind of a statue. And this might be the spark the Giants need, okay? Because they have key pieces on both sides of the balls. Obviously, on offense, they have Malik Neighbors, who has potential to be a top 5 wide receiver. Already is top 10, in my opinion. Scatterboo looks like a player. Cam Scatterboo looks like a player. Look like that guy can play. Along with Tyrone Tracy, good 2-headed monster running back. And I've always liked Wan'Dale Robinson. He popped against Dallas. He's always there. He's a good third down target. Andrew Thomas is finally healthy. They had him on a pitch count. If he could stay healthy, that's going to shore up left tackle. But the rest of the line is sketchy at best. Is shaky at best. That line is shaky at best, let's be honest, because you saw without Andrew Thomas, they were a mess. With Andrew Thomas, it's not like they were necessarily like 10 times better. And Russ, like I said, he's a statue at this point. And they have the talent. They need someone that can extend plays and get the ball to that talent. Get the ball to those weapons. They need a guy that can get out, extend the time, and see guys down the field and get them the ball. And I think Jackson Dart might be able to do that. He actually had a lot of starts at Ole Miss. He's a guy that I actually think is more ready, more pro-ready than people think. So I think he's a guy that can come in and win games for this team right away, because this roster actually isn't a non-playoff roster. This isn't a top 10 draft pick roster. This actually could be a playoff roster. And the NFC conference that is kind of up for grabs right now. So on defense, I didn't even mention the defense. Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. They have their corners leave a lot to be desired, though. That's kind of a problem. But if they get a decent pass rush, it'll make up for the corners. So I think Jackson Dart is more pro-ready than people realize. And I think he can be effective coming in right away. And I think he actually might be a decent quarterback for the Giants. So if I'm a Giants fan, I'm excited, because this actually gives Dable and Shane some time to breathe too, and maybe not get fired. If he shows promise, and they only win 5-6 games, but he shows promise, they're going to be like, all right, maybe we bring him back for another year. Jackson Dart showed promise. Maybe he could breed a quarterback. You saw it with Josh Allen. You saw it at Alabama. So it's going to start to go in Dable's favor. So yes, you had to play Dart now, because what's the point of having a guy and just being like signing Russell Wilson and just saying, oh, we have to play him because we got to get our return on investment, our ROI. It's like, what's the point of that? Because you kind of, if he plays well, you're not going to get a high draft pick. And if he plays like shit, you're not going to be able to see Jackson Dart. I think kind of having a quarterback sit in this day and age is overrated. In my opinion, the way I learn, the best way to learn in life, in my opinion, is to do it yourself. Get out there and just do it. Just fuck up. Tell yourself, okay, I'm never going to make that mistake again. That's the best way to learn, in my opinion. So Jackson Dart, to get out there and have those growing pains and just work through it on the field, I think that's the best thing for him. I think it's the best thing for the Giants. So the Vikings blowing out the Bengals, and Carson Wentz playing very well in that Vikings win. He had a 70% completion percentage, 173 passing yards, not too much, but not bad. 2 touchdowns, 130 passer rating. The defense was excellent. Yes, the defense was outstanding. Yes, Jordan Mason was excellent, so they had a solid running game. But I think Carson Wentz played a really strong game. And you saw it with T.J. Hawkinson. He got him really involved in this game, and he wasn't the first 2 games. The first 2 games combined with J.J. McCarthy, Hawkinson had 4 catches, 27 yards, and not a single touchdown. One game with Carson Wentz, 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. Now you have Addison coming back, so we all know Carson Wentz is playing again against the Steelers in Ireland, I'm pretty sure it is. If Carson Wentz plays well again, and the Vikings win again, do you consider starting Carson Wentz over J.J. McCarthy? Because J.J. McCarthy in 2 starts, 58.5 completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, 67 passer rating. And that's with that one excellent fourth quarter in there. So that's how bad he's been the other 3 quarters, and his stats are still extremely bad. So you have Wentz, who had a 70% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, the same amount as J.J., and 1 less game, and way better passing rating. I think Carson Wentz can be explosive. And with Kevin O'Connell, offensive head coach, you saw what he did with Kirk Cousins. You saw what he did with Sam Darnold. You saw what he did with all these quarterbacks. He's been even won games in Josh Dobbs. So I think with Kevin O'Connell and Carson Wentz playing like this could be a team that could fight for the playoffs potentially with Carson Wentz as their quarterback. I don't necessarily know about that with J.J. McCarthy. So I wouldn't say you start Wentz if they win again and he plays well again, but if J.J. McCarthy comes back and he plays like shit, they're going to be calling for Wentz. The fans are going to be calling for Wentz. The players are going to be calling for Wentz. The coaches are going to be calling for Wentz. So not necessarily going to think that he's going to start if they win their next game and he plays well. But if JJ comes back after that and plays like shit, you're going to hear the chirps for Carson Wentz. All right, so week 5 picks. Thursday Night Football, Cardinals at Seahawks. I'm going to go with Seattle there. They're home, 12th man. Big home field advantage for the Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold's starting to really get into his own in this offense. Kenneth Walker's starting to get going again. They have some pieces there. I think that guy Horton's starting to get going. Cooper Kupp's been there. Jack Smith-Njigba. The defense has been very feisty with Mike McDonald, too. So I'm going to go with Seattle there. Let's get into what's another big one. Eagles at Bucks. Eagles at Bucks. Let me write this down. I actually didn't write any of this down. So Seahawks. So Eagles at Bucks. I'm going to go with the Eagles there. The Bucks really haven't been playing great. I mean, they kind of controlled the Jets, but still almost lost. And then they almost lost to the Falcons. And then they needed a game-winning drive against the Texans. So they really haven't been playing great. And the Eagles finally, I feel like, found something on offense in the passing game. And the Bucks don't necessarily have the best secondary. So I would go with Eagles here, even though they're on the road. I'm going to take Eagles there. Let's go to Packers at Cowboys. I mean, that's an easy one for me. Packers got embarrassed and surprised by the Browns. The Cowboys got kind of embarrassed by the Bears, but I think the Packers are the better team here. The Packers should win this game. I think Dallas's defense is not going to be able to stop Green Bay's offense. Even though Green Bay struggled last week, I think Matt LaFleur, great head coach, I think he's going to bounce back offensively. Ravens at Chiefs. Oh, that's a tough one. I think with kind of the way the momentum's been going, you want to say Ravens, but I think the Chiefs got right last game against the Giants. They're home. I think they kind of found something offensively a little bit there with the deep ball to Thornton. Kelsey kind of gotten going. They need to have a running game here. But I think Patrick Mahomes actually might have a great statistical game in this game, and that he's going to get a lot of receivers involved. I think the Chiefs' defense is getting right at the right time. I'm going to go Chiefs here. Colts at Rams. Call me crazy. I'm a guy that said that the Colts might have the number 1 pick in the draft next season. I'm a guy that said that Daniel Jones is no good, and this is not a good decision for the Colts to go get him. Now I'm a guy that's sitting here. I was also a guy that said the Rams are going to be the 1 seed. The Rams are going to win 14 games. The Rams are going to be the best team in the NFC. This is all before the season. Now I'm a guy that's saying the Colts are going to beat the Rams in Week 4 on the road. That offense, just with the way Daniel Jones is playing, he's got so much talent on that offense. Warren, Taylor, Pittman, Pierce, Josh Downs. They really have a lot of pieces on that offense, and you're starting to realize that now with a quarterback that's getting the ball. But just like I said, the quarterback that's getting him the ball, he's making throws down the field. He's making plays, and when he has to dump it off, he's dumping off to Jonathan Taylor, who's running for 40 yards. So, I mean, Daniel Jones is playing like a top 16 quarterback right now. Matt Stafford has not necessarily been playing great statistically. The Rams corners struggle. The Colts have a lot of offensive weapons, and their defense isn't bad either. I'm going to go Colts here. And in Ireland, Vikings, Steelers. Carson Wentz is playing. If J.J. McCarthy was playing, I would go with the Steelers. But Carson Wentz is playing. I think Carson Wentz actually fits this offense really, really well. And I'm going to go Vikings here. Steelers are home, but it's not a home game. They're in Ireland. And with an older quarterback and Aaron Rodgers having to travel to Ireland with an offense that doesn't have a great running game, the offensive line hasn't been great. Kind of reminds me a lot of the Jets with Rodgers last season. The defense hasn't looked great. I'm going to go with the Vikings here. Brian Flores stifled Aaron Rodgers last year when he was in London on the Jets. I think he's going to stifle him again. So give me Vikings there. Just want to hit on one more thing. What is going on with C.J. Stroud? Because this is a guy that 2 years ago was Rookie of the Year. We all thought that he was on trajectory to be a top 5 quarterback. We all thought the Texans were a Super Bowl contender last season. Now, a year and 2 games later, and we're all wondering, what's wrong with C.J. Stroud? Bobby Slowick, C.J. Stroud's offensive coordinator his rookie season. He was such a hot commodity for head coach. Had a great year with Stroud. All of a sudden, the second season, he gets fired. Was it really Bobby Slowick's fault? Now I don't know. I mean, the offensive line hasn't been able to get it right. They haven't been able to run the ball. And yes, the defense has been great, but C.J. Stroud has really regressed. I expected this after last season. His second season in the league had great expectations after his great first season. Defense has had a full year of tape on him. I expected some regression. He still won a playoff game, so I wasn't worried. Now I'm getting worried because the Colts are 3-0. You're 0-3. I mean, the chance of you making the playoffs now, let alone winning the division, making the playoffs, it's going to be slim to none. So C.J. Stroud has taken massive leaps back, and I don't really know what to pinpoint it on. I just think maybe he just got off to so high of a start so fast that he just expected it to be like that. I don't know, but if you're a Texans fan, be worried. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week. Take care.